Okay, it is 8:30. I will call the June 6th Environment and Land Use Committee meeting to order. Roll call of committee members. We'll start with Kevin.
Whalen here.
Dave Larson here.
Severson here.
Nelson here.
Klein here.
Todd here.
And then we have staff.
Mark Carlson, Land Management.
Rick Reisinger, Department of Land Management.
Rebecca Gluen, County Administrator.
Okay, thank you. I certify that open meeting law requirements have been met with proper posting. We have a 13-item agenda. I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion approved by Larson, second by Whalen. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Has everyone looked through our May 7th meeting minutes? Any corrections or additions?
Motion to approve. I didn't see anything that I agreed with.
Okay,
I will second that motion.
okay, motion by Larson, second by Todd. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. It is 8:32, and I will call the conditional use permit, public hearing order for the conditional use permit for a campground from Margaret and Michael Backus. I'm probably butchering names, so I apologize. But, Randy, would you read the notice?
Yes. You are hereby given notice that the following conditional use permit will be before the Environment and Land Use Committee on Friday, June 6, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. in the county boardroom of the courthouse, 18600 Hobson Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773. The hearing requested by Eric and Lydia Cisneros, operator, and Margaret and Michael Backus, owner, to consider a conditional use permit for a campground. The location is the southwest one quarter of the southwest one quarter, section 20, township 20 north, range 9 west, in the town of Arcadia, Trempealeau County, Wisconsin. The parcel number follows. To provide public comment on this hearing during this meeting, please call 715-538-1894. Your attendance and comments are encouraged at this hearing. If you are unable to attend and have any questions, please call Mark Carlson with the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1919 or email to mark.carlson@county.trempealeau.wisconsin.us. If you are unable to attend and desire to submit a written comment, please send your written comments to the Department of Land Management, 18600 Hobson Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773, or email to, once again, Mark Carlson. All emails and written comments must be received by June 5th, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. Please know that written comments will be read at the public hearing up to 250 words. All written comments must include the name and address of its author. Any special interest groups or expert witnesses will be allowed 20 minutes to give a presentation and must register at least 1 week prior to the meeting date by calling Mark Carlson of the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1919. Sincerely, Mark Carlson.
All right, thank you, Randy. If there's anyone here who wishes to offer public comment, we will begin that shortly. Mark, do you have any?
Yeah, I guess this has kind of been in the works for a little bit. I mean, we did change our ordinance for camping cabins when they inquired about cabins, but then we changed that a conditional use permit is required also for a campground. That's why we're here. And they did apply, they did have a map, but right now they only have 2 spots identified on the map. And they can elaborate on that a little bit more if they're gonna, what their future plans are. And notices were sent out to all adjoining landowners. There is one adjoining landowner that is here. And I also have a town letter from the town of Arcadia. Other than that, I have not received any correspondence from anybody else. And they have been working with the health department, which in turn works with the state to get these licensed correctly, as far as sanitary conditions, water supply, all that sort of stuff is being addressed through, I think it's AdCap 79 is the campground statute. And that's being implemented through the health department, from my understanding. And that's kind of spelled out also in our section in our ordinance that just says they must meet those codes, you know, an outdoor recreation requirement. And they are working towards that, or if not, have done that, so. That's about it, as far as I mean, they're more than welcome to add to that, you know, otherwise we can be open, you know, can answer any questions.
Okay, is there anyone here who wishes to offer public comment on this? Lydia and is it Eric? Anything you'd like to add at this point? If we just need you up at the microphone if you do.
I think you pretty much covered it. We've been working with, the representatives in Trempealeau County.
Okay. All right. So once again, if anyone, any questions, comments from the community, this is last chance for public comment on this. Hank, I know you had any questions you'd like to ask at this point?
No, I just thought something might come up. But
Sure.
no, I'm
You're good.
for what they're doing.
Okay.
Hope it works.
Okay. Very good. At this point then, I will close public comment at 8:37 and entertain a motion from the committee.
Motion to approve.
Move to approve from Klein,
I will second that motion.
second from Todd. Now, discussion. Any questions for the committee? Conditions that may be appropriate? This is the time to discuss.
Chair, just a question. They're talking right now 2 campsites only to start with. What kind of future plans do they have?
Probably better.
I guess future plans, we're starting our family to, we have a lot of young children right now, so not looking to expand very quickly. And honestly, even long-term future, looking to keep things small. The main attraction that we feel we have is that you're out in nature on your own and, you don't have a campsite neighbor that's 20 yards away. So we're looking to stay small.
Okay, very good. Any other questions for Lydia or?
Most of the other issues I questioned, Mark has covered with, the statutes already cover those things that they're gonna have to contend with.
Okay. All
I
right.
guess, I don't know if you reviewed the
Oh, letter
outdoor
from
rec
town.
requirements. I mean, they're meeting all the requirements, but, the maximum number is 20 per acre, and they obviously don't want to see that in this case, but
Right.
I guess with a conditional use, you could put a condition, but I don't know where you'd even start trying to come up with a number, and they've already addressed that they're probably gonna stay pretty minimal, That's, just bringing that up for the record.
And we did it, and I didn't get this in the public hearing, but we do have a letter from the town approving it as well.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yep, the letter from Arcadia is an approval letter, yep.
Okay. So they supported it as well.
Oh, yeah, yep, I can read the letter here quick. And
Would you?
The Town of Arcadia Board of Supervisors was informed by Lydia and Eric Cisneros that they are requesting a conditional use permit for a campground. The Town of Arcadia Board of Supervisors unanimously passed a motion at their April 9th, 2025 board meeting stating that they support this request. Sincerely, Lynn Axness. Probably the last one she got to sign, so she's no longer the town clerk. So.
Okay. Okay.
I was kind of surprised that, some people didn't call and ask, the ones that were sent, but nobody said anything.
Nobody said anything.
Maybe they've talked with their neighbors beforehand, and maybe they were aware of it, but nobody, not one person said anything, so.
Okay. Well, that's good news. Any other questions from the committee? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of approving this conditional use permit, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We will get you your conditional use permit. Thank you. Okay, our next item on agenda is resolution, support for requesting Wisconsin Stakeholder Forum on Solar Energy Projects and Related Matters, discussion, possible action. Mark, you want to get us started?
Well, I mean, Susan had written this solar project resolution. I didn't have really any, or no, she wrote it, so, and I think it was based on, our concerns as a committee that, at least be known of, the concerns about the states, not allowing the municipalities and the counties to have a little bit more say, and that's kind of why Susan had drafted this. I know there's a couple individuals here that knew this was gonna be seen it on the agenda, and, if you allow them, they might want to voice their opinion on some of the language, so.
Yeah, if you guys, either Kurt or John, either one, if you, whoever'd like to, this isn't a public hearing, so technically, but out of respect to you guys and being on the solar committee, we'll let you speak.
Can you just say, what's the objective? I mean, where was?
So, up to the mic if you're gonna speak, which will be fine, but basically this comes from, this is a process review at the state legislature, as I understand it. Our corp counsel, Susan Fisher, had drafted this. Other counties have started doing this. It just it asks the state legislature, if I understand this correctly, and if somebody correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure someone will, but it basically requests the state legislature to look at their process of how these are approved, because it's never been done.
And attempt to involve more local input.
Because right now, everything supersedes local, which doesn't seem quite right. And so it's really just requesting the state legislature to take a look at it and, look at the process for approval. If you boil it down, that's the way I understand it.
That's my understanding also, so.
Well, Jim, just to follow along, there's just a few comments I wanted to make to the group, about solar things. Just for a little background, I'm Kurt Motor, I live just outside of Whitehall here, and we have both a solar array at our place and we have geothermal, and both of them work out really well for us, but didn't know exactly where you're going with this, this process that you're working on, but just had a few comments I wanted to put out there to make everybody more aware. So, for example, power demand in Wisconsin is going to increase between 16 and 22% over the next 2 years. Excuse me, 10 years, over the next 10 years. So a pretty big increase coming, and we don't have a lot of sources to offset that demand, actually. So Superior and Duluth, they've been trying to get a gas power generation plant going for 8 years, and they still don't have any permitting on it at this point. So you can see there's a lot of, it's not just like you're going to put up a plant tomorrow to take care of the needs that you have. A couple of points you have in here in this resolution is reduce water quality, and I don't know if it appears to be, it's saying that solar reduces the water quality, and actually statistics don't really support that. Farming pollutes groundwater with nitrogen and phosphorus, erosion and chemicals. Nitrogen pollution in Wisconsin is one of the most widespread water contaminants that we have, with 90% of that nitrogen coming from farming operations. And 49% of the phosphorus contaminants come from farming. I mean, it's just part of farming, I understand it, but I just wanted to clarify, I didn't know what your point was there.
So,
Solar-
I'm gonna hit pause on this, Kurt. I appreciate you and the work you've put in. This isn't a public hearing.
Okay.
And so, and we aren't holding a referendum on solar today. This is just asking for a process review from the state.
Okay.
And just look at their permitting process. That's all the resolution is. It's not for, it's not against, it's just, can we take a look at the process that is in place at the state level on siting and approval.
Okay.
It's not a yea or nay on solar. That's not the point of it right now. So,
Go ahead.
Becky?
Well, I was just going to say, I think a part of it also is so that we have an opportunity to work together with solar companies and
Correct.
talking with them, because otherwise, really, the county has no voice in the matter, and then, and so this is an opportunity, is just trying to say, you know, could we bring the two sides together?
Can we talk?
Yeah, can we talk?
Literally, that's what we're
From-
trying to do.
Totally get that. And I think from the work we did earlier with that solar committee, right, we determined that when you get into the larger operations, right, you might have a little more impact with the smaller homeowner type things and stuff like that.
Homeowners aren't really an issue.
Correct.
Like, people we're very capable of handling those. It's the
Yeah.
commercial scale
Yeah.
where we just want to have a voice. And not that it's yea or nay, it's literally just, can we talk about it? Because right now, we don't have that opportunity. Actually, Ms. Fisher's here right now, and great, she can probably explain things better than I can.
So, Kellen, you're saying, you know, this isn't the point to review a
I
lot
don't
of these
think so.
details?
I mean, I appreciate the work, and I know you're passionate about it, but it's just not the point of the resolution is all.
Okay,
So-
fair enough. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah,
and
absolutely, and if you have questions too, by all means, you and John, please, you know, I very much appreciate your involvement, but the point of the resolution isn't, like say, we're supporting solar or we're not, that's not it at all. We
Understood.
just want to review the
Okay,
process.
thanks for the opportunity. Thank you. Go ahead.
My apologies for my tardiness. Just to reiterate, this is to seek a middle of the road, so to speak, position and task for really the different parties to sit down and start talking about this and reviewing the issues from all of the different perspectives. And as you know, sometimes resolutions, they take them up, and sometimes they don't.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Yeah, so I read the resolution, as did Kurt, and I have concerns about the way it's written. The tone, despite what you say, Kellen, is negative, comes across, we're against it because we have no control. Plus, it's factually incorrect. Kurt pointed out water quality. You could point to, and it says a reduction in tourism and related economic opportunities. That dismisses the fact that it could be viewed, solar farms, as economic development opportunities for the county. And so Kurt's excellent points about making, we have increased power demands. We need an all of the above energy technology solution. And whether you like renewables or not, they have to be part of the equation going forward. And I understand you want to have a voice, and there should be, but the tone of the resolution and the incorrections should be stated differently, especially in that second whereas paragraph. And I guess the other thing is, it's not clear what this forum that you're calling for. Now, maybe there's a process that I'm not aware of at the state level, but you could, if you want a voice, we could be asking for much more actionable things like, and clear deliverables, like guidelines for how to create joint development agreements or community benefit agreements, so that when these operations and farms come into the area, we have the ability to get the best deal for our community, as well as, for the community and the town and the county. So it's just, hearing the intent, I would support that, but I just don't like the way it's written. And I think it should be changed.
Okay, that's fair. Susan, anything you'd want to respond to? I don't know. It is what it is.
It is, and it's up to this group's or this committee's discretion, and certainly if you want to change it, you can change it. It's well within your power to rewrite it as you wish.
Has this been modeled after?
No,
what
this
others-
has not been done. So this is a new idea. I've been working in this area for some time, in different capacities, and there has never been any sort of stakeholder forum or summit that I am aware of. There's never been an opportunity to sit down and talk, and that's essentially what's being requested here. And so when we talk about JDAs, well, that's really that's a meaningful discussion, but that doesn't address the issue that some of the individuals around this table do want local control, or a little bit of local control, or not rest the power solely on a contractual arrangement. And I think there are also issues when you go back to the PSC and, you know, well, what did the local jurisdiction say? Well, most of the counties don't feel that they have much power here, so we're not saying much. And so that, there's some tension there that needs to get fleshed out. You know, what is that power? Because clearly, the PSC is saying, well, there is some, but the guidance that counties are getting is that there really isn't. So somehow we need to get to a point that we sit down and discuss this and flesh this out. Maybe it's not this, maybe nothing would happen with this. I was asked to create this, so that's where I'm at. But how do we get beyond all of this?
Yeah, and to me, if you want to cite concerns about solar farms, it's the divisiveness that comes into the communities when they're proposed. It's the concerns over aesthetics and land values, but water quality, economic opportunities, you know, you need to flip this on its head and say, solar farms can be an economic benefit to towns and communities over, you know, the simple tax that you're collecting on the land that's involved. And it's not like you're going to wind up with a county full of solar panels. It just, the projections for the amount of land needed in all of Wisconsin to power all of Wisconsin is less than 2% of farmland. So the divisiveness I get, we don't, if these things come in and they're supported by the county or the towns, how do you go about it so that you don't have neighbor pitted against neighbor at the end of it?
Can I
That's-
comment on this?
Please
Kevin?
do, yes.
I compliment the group for being proactive rather than reactive, which I think has been needed in this area. And I don't think a resolution where we go through and ask stakeholders to put input is expressing negative toward the solar industry. Anytime we expand into area, even if it's 2% into farmland, we do have to have all sides given a chance to speak, just as you're saying, which as a solar stakeholder, I'm sure you take great interest in this forum being available. The reason we're presenting it this way is right now there seems to be a bias against local control. And we need to have the people that sit around this table being able to evaluate it. If we evaluate it and we have no impact, we're not doing our job of protecting Trempealeau County to make sure we get solar power, or farmland to make sure it's still productive and can add to our local industry. So what this is saying, and I think rather eloquently, is that let's get together and talk about it. I think it, as is, reflects what our committee meeting was. Now, specific parts that you want to evaluate, I have no problem listening to. But specifically, right now, it looks like what we wanted to do from our last committee meeting.
I'll just restate, thanks for that input. If you want this to come off as being solar neutral, then some of these statements need to be corrected.
Anyone?
I guess what I'm seeing is this, and we appreciate all the comments, and I know this is a topic, and now I serve on a town board too, where we've been delving so much more into this, and then it's been a conversation with the WCA at the Agricultural and Land Use Committee, the steering committee as well. What I'm getting from this is not so much, I guess it's just talking about the concerns people have talked about here in Trumbull County. So I think your comments, both your comments, are just exemplifying the need for these conversations, because there is that bias, like Supervisor Whalen was talking about. So we need to get all the stakeholders together, have the conversation, and these are just examples of concerns we've seen here in Trumbull County. Mm-hmm. This will give us the opportunity to debunk any of those myths that are out there.
You know, one way to pitch this would be, and I don't quite agree with what you're saying that I'm saying, that is exemplifying the need to have the conversation. What I'm saying is this, as written, is not factually correct. Water quality is not an issue for solar panels and solar farms compared to conventional, the way that the land might be being used. That's well documented. And as I said, one way to reframe the discussion would be, while we acknowledge benefits that can accrue from solar farms, we have these concerns, and then state what the concerns are: divisiveness and aesthetics and the emergency. That was a good one to point out, emergent services and stuff like that. But the ones that are cited right now, I guess I have an issue with, because I don't see them as being balanced as neutral.
So if I may, I just want to point to the language of it, because, and aesthetics is certainly, an issue that could be included in here, and I'd have no issue with that, or, we could go down. But that second paragraph is not what I'm saying, and it's not saying that there is a reduced quality of water. It's that that's been expressed. And that's been expressed by this committee as a concern that could use further review, and that further review might exactly come to that point of greater knowledge about what the water quality is. And so how do we get to that point, that we look at these issues and we get that information out there? And so when there's a concern being heard from this committee or members of the public, that's all that's being reflected here, is that these are the concerns that have come before the community. And then how.
Water quality?
Yes.
Yes,
Serious.
Yes.
Yes, 100%.
That's patent misinformation that's getting
If
spread.
hailstorm,
Yeah.
and solar panels are damaged, and you have silver chloride, or whatever your activator is in your solar panel, which I don't know what you use in your own personal ones, but if that, during a hailstorm, gets leached into the ground, there's definitely a water pollution potential to a high level. Nebraska had a large solar array that was damaged by it. They're not sure what they're going to do as far as control. They're basically wondering, okay, we know we've contaminated our soil, we don't know what we can do with it, and it's something that should be questioned. And, you can come up with all kinds of them, I can come up with all kinds of them, because there's potential for pollution. You can come up with all kinds of the lawns that are in town that are putting nitrogen on, contributing to water pollution, yes, but we still need to have lawns. We still need to have the cropland. What we're looking at is the potential for contamination by changing something such as adding a solar array.
And if again, it's not to say that your point is wrong. It's just saying we see it as a potential down the road that should be addressed before it happens as much as possible.
Well, I'm not going to argue. My point is made. It's well documented that water quality
Then that's
is
the
improved
information
when
we
you put in
need,
solar
we
panels.
need to be able to have
It'd be great at the forum.
a local meeting with local people involved to get that information out, and that,
And I
and
agree.
what I see
And
is,
so then just
that's
make
what we're requesting.
the germane statements of what your concerns are. And I'm very skeptical that water quality it's a hot button issue with people.
It is,
And it gets
sure.
everybody's attention. But in this particular case, water quality is a very, very minor part of the overall concern.
I don't disagree with your analysis of that, but there are people out there, I have had people talk to me about what's this going to do, and I don't have an answer for them.
Right.
If we can address it.
We end up with the what if this happens, and
Right,
Kevin, the what if, and then we don't know the answer to that, and I don't know that you do either, but it's a fair question to ask. I mean, people just want a better understanding of it, and that's what's going to help the divisiveness. And I don't know how you're going to get there, or I should say, where we're going to address people's concerns and let them feel heard and comfortable with it. How do we get there? I don't know. I agree. We need solar. We need every type of energy form. So
Yeah, I totally agree.
But that is where we're at, and these are legitimate concerns that I think most, if not all of us, have been talked to individually about it.
And misinformation is one of the biggest things that leads to this polarizing.
But just take the water quality. Like, honestly, do you know what happens if the hail situation were to happen? I don't. So how do I address someone's concern? You know, it's not also my job to defend or not defend any industry for that matter. So, not saying that it's terrible by any means. I know you want to speak, Andy.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, but it is not our position to, pro this, negative that, whatever. That isn't the point. We need everything, especially as you're 100% correct on our energy needs, Kurt. We started highlighting that. It is huge problem in the next 10 years even. So we are in dire need of energy. Totally agree. We just want to look at the process of it. I'm going to yield to Mr. Todd.
And I believe this resolution is to go to the state to say we would like input on it, not knowledge about it. So this is, we want to be able to get our word to mean something. Right now, they can come in here, you can do whatever you want to do, and we have no control. I'm just going to throw out there, your cell phone towers. Anybody can have one. We have no control. We have to say yes, because we have no say on it. You know, when it comes to, okay, it's got to be this far away from a house or something, yep, this is where it needs to be. But when it comes to us doing anything, anybody can come in here and say, it's energy, so it's going to happen. This is basically saying, we want to speak to it. Right now, it ain't necessarily the knowledge that we're getting back from the satellites. It's, the knowledge we do get, we want to be able to mean something. Right now, the knowledge we get don't mean nothing because we can't do nothing about it.
And you bring up an excellent point. There are certain things that society requires, infrastructure. Energy is one of those things. That's one of the reasons why absolute local control for things that have a broader community benefit can't be left to the whims of local governments that want to control everything in their backyard. And so that opens the door for NIMBYs to come in and say, not in my backyard, you do it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And so there has to be that greater good in mind, and yeah, the state has that control. I think you're absolutely right that we need to have a voice. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's going to lead you to a path where the state is going to say, oh yeah, you guys should approve all of our solar and renewable energy projects. It just won't happen. Otherwise, every community in the country is just going to turn around and say, oh, somebody else build it, which to me is an opportunity because in a rural county like ours, economic development is a huge issue. And you could flip it on its side and say, what can we do to promote solar development so that we do benefit as a county? So,
Randy, I know you've been waiting to make a comment.
Yeah, I do know there are sometimes when things are said in the committee that are people's opinions and aren't fact-based, and no denying that. I've went home and looked up things right afterwards, but we aren't that kind of a committee where it's a cross-examination, and so unfortunately, there are sometimes things do get said that are, far from the truth, and maybe something like this would be another venue to challenge, mistruths and, set the record straight, And, I did, actually, the last meeting, that water quality and the broken solar panels, and there is stuff on the EPA talking about that, and they have done, significant testing, and it even said in the extreme test designed to simulate leaching, solar panels do not show a significant risk according to the EPA. And so that's, I thought that was, I knew they're not like a window glass thing.
So anyway,
Thanks for sharing that.
All of this to basically just take a look at and ask the state, can we talk and put all the parties who are involved in a room together, so to speak, and have some good discussions about procedure. That is that is literally the ask of the resolution.
Could I make a suggestion that I'll take a shot at an opening paragraph that I feel would be more balanced for your consideration?
I would defer that to the rest of the committee. Personally, I don't know that it matters as much as you do. You believe it matters, how it reads. That's my own personal.
Becomes a matter of public record. People could pick this up and especially on the water quality and the economic opportunities, it comes off negative. So,
Like I
might be
said,
a
that
minor
would-
point.
I would defer to the committee on whether they wanted to edit that or not.
I mean, I guess I would be curious to hear, but if this is saying this is what our county residents have expressed as concerns, then as representatives, how are we
How would we
staying
not
true
listen
and
to them?
accurate to what they're telling us? And again, I think this is an opportunity where we can debunk some of that misinformation that's out there. So if we know that people are expressing this concern, and we can get it to this level where we have this forum, and now we can dispel that, like I said, and get that out to our community.
Is there a way maybe to add to just that paragraph, adding a couple of things that might, I can see what you're saying as far as, I think, to your point, is saying, these issues have been brought forward, or I'm not sure, or if you maybe added a piece and about or more considerations about economic opportunity or things like that. I wonder, anyway.
So if I may, to address that, I think Supervisor Klein was correct. These are the concerns that have been brought to the members of this committee. So that's a factual statement. That's not a political statement. That's not meant to promote anything. We could put in there something that says, have also expressed about both large and small scale energy projects, and go through and then include some sort of statement that the Trempealeau County is not going to the accuracy of those statements. But those are what has been reflected to all of the members of this committee as well as the full board.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. That would be a good approach.
Okay.
One other question, what is this forum that what's the Wisconsin process that you're seeking to tap into?
So there is an ability to have a legislative study committee. So that would have to be gone through, that's not through this committee, but there's never been an ask for it. So if you have large topic items, occasionally there is some sort of study committee. This is one that has been going on for years from all of the different sides. And there's certainly it's divisive, and it's almost to the point that no one can have a meaningful discussion, sit down and just talk about things.
Right.
And that's what we're asking for.
Okay. Yep.
And go through what's not, talk about what's factually incorrect, but let's talk. And let's address the concerns and have a realistic process here. And, whether a legislator picks up on this or not, I can't guarantee that. But this is to address, I'm sorry?
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but they might might
Right.
get on their desk and just go in the garbage too. So.
Yeah, they might not do anything with this, so I don't want to put any wool over anybody's eyes, but this is Trempealeau County's opportunity to try to further that, the conversation and not be one side or the other.
Right. So, given that it may wind up in somebody's file 19, maybe you should think about a secondary opportunity, which would be, how can we have this discussion, even if it doesn't occur at this formal state process? And I'm thinking again about learning from people who have done these projects in their counties and bringing in those folks, what types of agreements put in place, what would they do different, so that Trempealeau County is prepared when a solar farm is, knocking on the door. And we've got a couple, I know, so,
Yep.
just a thought.
Okay. Thank you, John. Thoughts from the committee? Do you have potential verbiage addition? Yeah. Because
Chair, if I can just say one last thing, just so they understand, Van Orden's office, believe it, they got a hold of me on this whole concern about these solar farms. And so they're supposed to be addressing something. And this was probably 2 months ago, and I haven't heard nothing back from them, but people are calling Van Orden's office expressing
the solar panel stuff. So something's there on that. So I just wanted to point that out to you, that they did contact me on it, and they're
Yeah,
well aware of what's going
I wanted
on.
to share a story. I participated in one of the virtual town halls with Rep. Van Orden. I asked a question about clean energy tax credits and the big beautiful bill. And the first question, his statement was, the reason why we have solar panels, toxic solar panels over 2,400 acres of black dirt in Grant County is because of these tax credits. So I think his position on this is not very favorable.
I don't think he's publicly said that he'd vote against.
That was at a virtual town hall.
And I attended the virtual town hall in the same situations, and I know publicly he hasn't said he's out to get them solar panels.
Do we have any new verbiage?
And
Did we close?
I do have a proposed addition. And certainly the last word that I'm gonna propose, I think maybe it could be changed a little bit. To paragraph 2, where it says, since that time, various communities, including those in Trempealeau County, have also expressed concerns about both large and small-scale solar energy projects. Keep that semicolon, while not speaking to the accuracy, and that's the word I'm struggling with, of their concerns. These concerns have included, but are not limited to the reduced water quality. So it's that addition, while not speaking to their substance. Again, please help me if you have another word that you would like there, because we're not saying it's correct or not correct. These are the factual concerns that this entity has received.
I think that works for me.
I think that would be a reasonable addition.
Move the amendment to the resolution if that's what you need.
Okay, moved by Whalen, do we have a second?
I will definitely second that.
Second by Todd. Any other discussion on the,
Question, did we have a motion to approve the whole thing first?
I believe we did, we did not?
No.
Well, we can still approve the amended language. Then, well, we do that, we'll do the whole thing.
Okay, then we're
At
doing
one
it
time.
informally. So then I have another, just minor, in the introduced by, we're the Environment and Land Use Committee, not the Environmental.
Typo.
Okay,
And we could,
What's that?
Nice fine coat. Very fine.
that's why I always appreciate your review.
yeah,
And we could use correctness rather than accuracy.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, because I was trying to think about different.
Yeah,
Words.
hold up the
that's
source.
a good one. Okay, so technically, we do not have a motion on the floor to approve this resolution, so.
We didn't take a vote for
Well, if we didn't,
the informal vote to change the wording before it's.
we should probably do that. So we have a motion made and seconded. All in favor of changing the language in paragraph 2, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We will add that verbiage and change that around a little bit. So then I'd entertain a motion on the entire resolution as changed.
Motion to approve.
Move to approve from Klein.
Second.
Second from Larson. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We will forward that on to county board for approval. And I'm sure we'll have discussion there. Next on our agenda is appointment to Board of Adjustment. Terry Coxline, his term is ending, if I'm not mistaken. Mark, do you have?
Yeah, I got a letter drafted that's addressed to Rebecca as the administrator. This is what was done in the last go-around. And it's just as directed by Kellen Nelson, Chair of the Environment and Land Use Committee. I'm forwarding the following name for your consideration for regular board member appointment to the Trumbull County Board of Adjustment, and that'd be Terrence Coxline. Person mentioned has agreed to a 3-year term. It's request that these appointments be made so that confirmation can be made no later than the June 16th, 2025 county board meeting, as the term of these board members expire on June 30th, 2028 is when he and he agreed, he'll do one more term. He's on the Board of Adjustment right now. And I guess, I haven't reached out to anybody else, but he expressed that he would continue to do it for one more term.
Okay. Do you need approval on that, or is it?
I mean, I'm just going by what was done in the past. I mean, we could probably formally agree to that. I could send a letter on to Rebecca.
that's-
Motion
requesting
to
that.
approve sending the letter on to Rebecca to reappoint.
Okay. Motion by Larson,
Second.
second from Klein. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Zoning update. Mark, what else we got cooking?
Well, it's been an interesting week, I guess, without Verge around, and things are kind of crazy. And I guess, I don't even know if I should mention it, but there was something on Google Groups in regards to what some other counties are charging some of these solar commercials. And the highest one, Pierce County was charging $7,500 right up front, plus $150 an acre. That was for a permit, for them to be allowed to do it. And I don't even know how legal any of that stuff is, but that was the big extreme. And the lowest extreme would have been like $750 one-time permit fee. So, I don't think we've even discussed, how we're gonna permit these things, or even if we can or whatever.
Right now, we don't.
But
know
I
that
mean,
we
that's
can.
what they're doing, and I don't know how legal that is. I mean, that's,
That's it.
$7,500 and then $150 an acre might be peanuts to them, but it ain't to me, and
Oh, right.
it's probably a pretty substantial amount of money, and
Yeah.
I just thought I'd throw that out there, and I guess, we have a possible request coming from a change in the amendment of the ordinance in regards to that, when we changed it about a year ago, when we changed access to a property that is cut off by a railroad. Well, that person doesn't think the language is good enough and it needs to be changed. So I think we're gonna ask them formally request through a letter that says, this is what we want changed and this is the language we want changed. We haven't gotten to that point yet, and Susan can add if she needs to, but I guess it's kind of been in the works for a while, and I guess, we did change the ordinance after a couple Board of Adjustment variance failures on that, and now they feel the language isn't sufficient, I guess, especially with I think the language that they have in question would be the easement with the railroad company, which they probably ain't gonna get an easement from the railroad company. Maybe their language will be an easement to a permitted railroad crossing or something. Maybe that's what their language is gonna say, but I don't know what their language, but right now that one's in the works. And, that's pretty much it, I guess. I don't have much more to add.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mark. Conservation update. In lieu of Haley, we have Rick.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, Rick.
Getting busy, that time of the year. Cover crop applications are due by the 15th of July. So just putting that announcement out there. Been getting a few in already, but, we'll sit on those until the 15th of July, and then we'll work through those. Did hold our land judging competition back on May 8th. We had over 40 students involved from 4 different schools. Arcadia took first place in the overall senior division, and Whitehall Schools took first place in the junior division. And I believe you guys got all the results in your packet from all the schools and how they did. Really nice turnout. It was a beautiful day. Especially want to thank Perry Kuyak for letting us use his farm, and the highway department for digging the holes and then filling them back in after we were done. So, like I said, it was a really, really fun day. Haley is looking into the PFAS situation, or, that you guys had talked about last month. She's met with the health department and is in contact with the DNR. She will be giving you guys further update at next month's meeting. So, along with the tree and shrub, she'll be giving the final numbers on that. She's still waiting on a few things to finalize on that. So I'll leave that to her for next month. And then with summertime coming, we are, getting busy. We got projects going, doing inspections, doing operation and maintenance checks. So we have got our hands full for the next few months until the weather turns nasty again. I know it's just around the corner, but,
Yep.
so, that's all I got.
Thanks for that positive energy, Rick.
Thanks.
Appreciate that. Next, anyone have anything for future agenda items, things we need to discuss, delve into in the future? Pretty quiet. Okay. If we have nothing else there, next meeting date is scheduled for July 2nd, Wednesday, July 2nd. Does that work well enough for everybody? Stick with our 8:30 time frame, Wednesday, July 2nd, and that should work great. Anything else, anyone, for future agenda, or?
Not for future agenda, but just as a point of clarification, I know that Virgil's obviously not here, so I asked Brittany to print off the updated resolution and to bring up a copy.
Okay, so we
Thank
can
you.
sign that.
Appreciate that, Susan.
Perfect. So we will, everyone hang around until we get a chance to sign. With that then, so next meeting will be Wednesday, July 2nd at 8:30. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 9:21. Thank you all.